WNST, Taos in Baltimore. Long time since we've had this guy on, several months. I think it was, I was still wearing a winter coat and a ski cap last time we had Jim Williams on. He is a 7-time Emmy Award-winning producer and director, as well as a columnist for the Huffington Post and American Sports Network. You can follow his journey out on Twitter, and thousands do, at WordManDC. We welcome the man, the myth, the legend, our unofficial official media examiner around here, Jim Williams, back on for a little summer treat. What's going on, man? We got the dogs and cats this week, right? NBA ratings are up.
When last we chatted, the Caps were in the playoffs.
You know, you have to bring that up on the back. You know, I tell people all the time, and I tell Tomlin this all the time. Did you guys win a Super Bowl? I don't know. I didn't hang around to watch you lift the trophy. So, for whatever reason, my cable went a little crazy on Sunday night, and I couldn't watch the Penguins skate the Stanley Cup. So, in my mind, if I just keep SportsCenter off for the next 36 hours, it'll be like it never happened. I mean, I don't want to see Phil Kessel happy. That's for sure.
Phil, if I didn't see it, it didn't happen syndrome. Yes.
Right, what was it, Hogan's Heroes? I see nothing.
Right, I see nothing.
Absolutely. Well, the one thing that's been obvious here, I think, over the last 6 or 7 weeks, for any of us who watch the NBA and the NHL, is how much better a sport hockey is. And I've talked about this for 25 years, and I know in the case of the NBA, the playoffs have been somnambulent. I mean, it has been chalk all the way through. Man, a little Game 7 with Boston here and there and the Wizards. But nobody really thought Cleveland and Golden State weren't going to wind up in the end. Nobody really thought Golden State was going to lose in the end. And the ratings have been bonkers, I guess, because of the star power of LeBron and of Steph Curry and of these two franchises right now.
Yeah, well, and don't leave out the local boy, Kevin Durant.
Sure.
It was, his moving over there didn't hurt. And, you have a 73-win team in the regular season in Golden State coming up against, LeBron and his bunch. To me, it's fascinating because I think you and I grew up during the era of Magic Bird, which transitioned then into Jordan, and there wasn't super teams. There were good teams, but there were not these, homemade super teams.
Yeah, but I mean, Dr. J was always the most exciting player to watch. I mean, he was more exciting than Magic or than Bird. I mean, Bird could shoot and could do a lot of things, and Magic distributed the ball and did things that a 6'9" guy didn't do. But, I mean, Dr. J was otherworldly. I mean, to me, that was appointment viewing in the same way that when Nolan Ryan pitched or when Fernando Valenzuela pitched or, it really did come back to, I want to see that player. I want to see that star. And, in Golden State and Cleveland, I think there's plenty of that to go around. I mean, I love watching Steph Curry shoot the basketball. It's like watching the Harlem Globetrotters to me.
Mm-hmm. No, it's fun to watch. It's just that I guess what I'm saying is, as you said, it was a foregone conclusion that unless one of these unless the team bus got in an accident on the way to the arena, these two teams were going to meet. I mean, the regular season was almost just a formality in that regard. But your point on hockey is far better because hockey is much, to me anyway, hockey over the past, as you said, 25 years, it has grown, gotten better, and with the influx of talented people from, Europe and, and some of the other areas that they've popped up,
including Phoenix.
Yeah, exactly. Phoenix and Nashville now, in large part due to a number of friends that we used to have that used to be with the Caps.
Hey, man, the Nashville thing was really something to watch. I mean, for me, it's not so foreign, right? Like, I went down there, the games all the time. There was always palpable energy around the Predators on game night. I mean, Nashville never had anything beyond the Opry, and that was out on the freeway. Downtown Nashville on a Predators game night in 2004, 6, 8, 10. It was always good, but seeing what that franchise did here over the last 8 weeks. And, Jim, I think it's lost. And if we're going to compare the NBA and the NHL did not have chalk. The Nashville Predators were the 8th seed that shocked the world, that took it down to the last minute and a half in Game 6 at home in a sea of gold with, 100,000 people lining the streets of Nashville. And, all due respect to Pittsburgh, because I love hockey. I love hardworking teams. I give them their due. But for the NHL, much like the best in sports, it was very unscripted. And I guess this Golden State Cleveland thing, you could have written the script to this last September before the season began, and it's kind of sort of worked out exactly the way we thought it would, and the NHL never works out that way. Neither does Major League Baseball either. I think that's one thing about baseball is it's very, very unpredictable in that way, and I think the NFL's become a little more predictable lately.
Sure, and to your point on Nashville, in general, if for those who've never been there, I mean, it is one of the... You're going to see the superstars walking up and down the streets, and they're just talking to you. I mean, it's not a pretentious town at all. It is a great place to just visit.
And one of the places that's really growing here in America, too. So I highly recommend Nashville. I've been recommending it for a long time. The long tail of this for the NBA and the amount of global money and television money that funnels into the NBA. The NBA's really become the place that if you were going to invest in a team, that's probably the place you would have wanted to put your money, right?
Oh, no question. As a matter of fact, again, to your point, the numbers both in the United States television rating-wise and worldwide are phenomenal, and it just keeps getting better for them. And that's in large part because as you've been to Europe, you have ties now to Germany.
We do.
France, Germany, Israel, everybody over in Europe has quality basketball, and they can't get enough of the NBA. You can't walk into any sports shop in Europe and not find an NBA jersey. But try to find an NFL jersey. That's not easy to find unless you're in London.
Well, yeah, Peter King wrote a big piece at MMQB this week about the London NFL situation. Of course, the Ravens going over there, and we're taking about 100 folks over there with us in the last part of September. He is Jim Williams. He is the Word Man DC out on Twitter and our unofficial official media examiner, 7-time Emmy Award-winning producer and director and doing all sorts of stuff. I want to get to some of the esoteric sports in a minute. I know it's a big golf week for Fox as well as tennis. But before I go there, I want to talk a little baseball at this period where the Orioles feel like they've started to hit the rocks a little bit. And this is a weird time, and I'm releasing my Peter principles, as you know, this summer. We're doing a chapter a week. There's another chapter coming out on Wednesday. And when I go back through the annals of all of this and where the money came from and how Angelos has managed to usurp all the money from the Nationals, and they're in this nasty lawsuit that's been going on for the better part of a decade now as far as this turmoil, and there's no end in sight. We're waiting on the New York Supreme Court to rule over this $400 million. Meanwhile, we have the strangest of summers here where the Nationals are really going to be given a hall pass here, right? Like they're not going to play any meaningful games this summer. There's not going to be a pennant race for them. And everything for them, much like the Capitals, is going to be about where's game one in October and can you win it? And who is going to pitch, right? I mean, and this is as unique a circumstance as maybe the Yankees being in the race on the other side where nobody really expected that. But the Nationals aren't going to have a race. I wonder what that does to television ratings in D.C. in August. I wonder who's watching them when they have a 19.5 game lead on August 10th and the games simply don't matter. I mean, and it's a lot of factors here. One of them is the Nationals are very good. The other factor is the other four teams have been horrific. The Mets have had the injury problems. The other franchises are in some level of rebuild, and I mean the Marlins have a mourning thing going on with the tragedy they had in their organization. But the Nationals are just going to coast along, and I don't know how people stay engaged with the Washington Nationals for the next 3.5 months.
Well, I think what happens in cases like that is if you are a fan, you want to watch and see what Bryce is doing. You want to see what how Murphy's doing, and I got to tell you personally, and I know you're a fan of pitching. I don't think people outside of this area can get a grip on how enjoyable watching Max Scherzer pitch is.
Well,
I mean, he is destination guy. I mean,
there's a lot of that going on right now. Clayton
Yeah.
Kershaw. I mean, a lot of these teams. Chris Sale's kind of sort of that way in
Sure,
Boston for
absolutely.
people, and I mean that's the one thing the Yankees sort of lack at this point, despite 14 runs, 18 runs, whatever it is, night by night. Good pitching is still where this is, and that's where it's going to be in October. And certainly the Nationals have an abundance of that.
Yeah, they just need to find a bullpen. But yeah, I'm just saying. You're asking about the Nationals. For me, it's if Scherzer's pitching, I'm going to watch it. I mean, I don't care if they're playing, playing a little league team from Dunbarton. I don't care. I want to see Max Scherzer pitch, and I guess that's maybe very well the whole situation in a nutshell with them. And your point about the Yankees. I mean, I covered and knew George Steinbrenner very well. This is not George Steinbrenner kind of baseball. I mean, these are they literally drafted their way up and kept the prospects and didn't add a lot of big name free agents to the team. They built a team.
Not yet.
Not yet.
That's coming next year.
No, though, honestly, I don't see them. I mean, this is Hal Steinbrenner. He's a business guy. He's not his dad. They're not into splashiness. I just think that, a lot of people have been speculating, as you know, that Manny Machado is going to end up there, or Bryce Harper's going to end up there. They're not going to take on a $400 million or $300 million contract. That's just not what's going to happen. That's the old, that's the George Steinbrenner Yankees. That is not the Hal Steinbrenner.
Well, they certainly have paid the price for the bad signings, much like the Red Sox have paid the price, which is how, quite frankly, the Orioles and the Blue Jays, and to some degree the Rays a decade ago, became competitive in the division. I mean, I hand it to the Rays because they sort of did it when the Yankees and the Red Sox were still there. We're starting to see this ascension of these franchises, and I think, for Oriole fans that saw what happened in the way that the Yankees steamrolled them over the weekend, it's disconcerting right now for any Oriole fan.
Sure. I mean, there's no question. This is Yankee team that was built by trades and by Brian Cashman doing what he wanted to kind of do when George was there, but George wasn't going to let him do it because George wanted to be competitive. And then, he'd go out, sign a free agent, and blow up the payroll.
He is Jim Williams. He is the Word Man DC, out on Twitter, 7-time Emmy Award-winning producer and director. You can read his work out at the Huffington Post and also follow him at Word Man DC out on Twitter. All right, so off of baseball and the big sports here, I know I think you produced more tennis and more golf than probably anybody over the course of time. These are thought to be more fringe sports, and we're coming up on some big ones right now. Obviously, this week, the lack of Jim Nance around the majors a little weird, right?
Yeah.
Friends.
Joe Buck and the Shark, Greg Norman. Yeah, Fox takes over the U.S. Open, and kind of an interesting sidebar, and that is, of course, Lefty's daughter's graduating from high school, and ironically, it was at a U.S. Open that he may or may not have had to bolt away from the Open, and because he wanted to be there for the birth of his daughter. And there's a great picture of he and Payne Stewart, the late Payne Stewart, embracing whenever he found out that he was going to be a dad, and that was right after the U.S. Open had finished. So Thursday's tee time, which is, I believe, 2:30 Central Time, is when he's going to be heading. That's when he's got to be in Wisconsin for the U.S. Open. And we'll see if Lefty can get to the graduation and still make it via plane back to Wisconsin. So that'll be kind of fun.
Planes, trains, and automobiles.
Sure, yeah, planes, trains. It doesn't hurt to have your own private jet. That does take a lot of the difficulty out of the equation.
Well,
But,
it's not going to help him on Friday back on the links.
No, you're absolutely right there. We just saw a fantastic French Open at Roland Garros, and that's a wonderful place to watch tennis and a wonderful place to follow the game. And Rafa won his 10th French Open. The fact that Roger Federer is still a factor in the Grand Slams, to me is amazing. I mean, that's one of the great sports stories of all time.
Well, we're a couple weeks out of Wimbledon here, and there are some veterans who this could be their last turn at the rodeo and at the All Lawn in England club, right?
Yeah, someplace that you and I enjoy going. It's a great place. That's another bucket list thing. If you've never done it, and you have. But,
I have not. I have not done Wimbledon. I've done the French Open.
Went to Wimbledon.
No, I did not. I've never been to Wimbledon. I've discussed it, and I think it's the one thing, and that in my younger life that was on my bucket list that really is no longer on my bucket list. I don't know why that is, but I don't know that I'm ever going to fly to London in the middle of July and scalp a ticket at a couple of grand and do that. I watch it now, but I don't ever think like I've got to go there for some reason.
Yeah, it's not a destination.
I don't know why. I just I'm probably much more prone to wind up at Augusta, and you know me, I'm not a golf guy at all.
Right.
And I came very close to going to Augusta last year. My wife wasn't well enough to go. We had an invitation. I don't know that invitation is going to stick next year, but at some point I think I'll get to Augusta. I don't know. Wimbledon might never happen for me. It's kind of like the Taj Mahal. Like it sounds like a place I want to go, but it doesn't sound like the journey I want to go to get there.
No,
Talk me into it.
That.
Tell me why I need to go to Wimbledon. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, it's the cathedral of tennis. If you like tennis, it's played in Wimbledon has. It's not the U.S. Open because the crowd's not anywhere near as raucous as it is at the U.S. Open, which is probably the funnest of the tournaments to go to. Although the Aussie is not bad. It's kind of like the New York crowd, only with manners.
By the way, I'm not going to write the Australian Open off, even though it happens in the middle of the football playoffs, because it's in Melbourne, and I've never been to Melbourne, and it's summer there, and it'll be 105 degrees. So I'm never going to say never to the Australian Open. I would say this. I'm more likely to go to the Australian Open than I am to go to Wimbledon. How about that? Unless somebody gives me a ticket to Wimbledon. I mean, if I had some ease of access, I would go to Wimbledon, but I don't have that hookup.
Wimbledon is not easy. Okay, there's no question about that. It's a very close. It's like going to Fenway Park or going to Wrigley Field.
I'm not going to sleep in a tent, at the gates the way the people do to get in. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm too old for that.
Those times have passed. Those times for you and my friend, have passed. 15 years ago.
Yeah, it's like old Lou Baker said in Major League. I'm too old to be diving behind the lockers.
Right, exactly. Well, look, there's no reason for you to go if you don't want to, but I'm just saying if you're a tennis fan, it's a must-see only because you've seen the grass before on television. You've seen all. It's like your first visit to Yankee Stadium if you're a baseball fan. It's as Billy Crystal said, all of the concrete around the building, and all of a sudden you walk out of the tunnel and you see nothing but the greenest of possible grass. Well, it's kind of the same thing in Wimbledon. You get to center court, and all of a sudden you say, "I've seen this 1,000 times on television, and and in pictures, and now I'm looking at it, with my own fresh eyes." So, I don't know. To me, it's a hallowed place, and I enjoy it. And frankly, if you got to go to the Aussie, if you're picking one that's more entertaining, you probably will have more fun at the Aussie because, number one, the Australians are fun people. Secondly, you can't go wrong in Melbourne.
Right. I mean, AC/DC was from there. I mean, they have like a whole shrine to AC/DC in Melbourne. So there's a reason to go right there.
Yeah, it beats Elvis, right? Yeah.
Yeah, well, it does beat Elvis. I've been to Graceland, too. He is Jim Williams. He is the Word Man DC out on Twitter, as well as at the Huffington Post, and one of our official, unofficial media examiners and conversation buffs around here. Hey, you know what, Jim? Next time we'll talk about politics because I hear there are things happening there, okay?
I would be happy to talk politics.
I know you would.
And truly, in all honesty, there's hardly a day goes by. It's almost like sports. Hardly a day goes by that you can't find a storyline, and so it works out well. But yeah, look at it. I gotta say, I always enjoy chatting with you. You've got so many fun topics to talk about, and one of the true treasures of sports radio. Forget just Baltimore, but sports radio in general, because sports radio is indeed a wasteland. And thank God that you're around, Nestor.
Hey, I appreciate that, Jim. That's very kind of you to say that, man. We're going to send everybody out to Twitter to say hello to you out at the Huffington Post as well. And we will not be strangers. You'll hear back from me before the summer's over, man.
You got it, dude. Anytime.
You got it. Jim Williams, the Word Man DC, and longtime friend of ours here, and official media examiner, and 7-time Emmy Award-winning producer and director. You can follow his work out online. You can find me out in the Bayou Toyota Audio Vault 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device. Just download the TuneIn radio app. We do come in crystal clear from anywhere in the world. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, and streaming live on our Facebook and our YouTube. We are WNST.net AM 1570 and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.